Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you if this Public Voice Party is a real party or some kind of a shill for civil contract, because they organized in 2023 as a fresh new opposition, and it was supposed to be primarily for the Yerevan elections. They helped civil contract essentially pull a coup and install the Gran Armenian with a minority of the votes. And now they use the same tactics to oust the opposition members who are able to block ruling party decisions. So, what is their identity?
Regarding Vardan Ghukasyan, this guy is changing his political orientation and political identity basically every day. So it's just a political project which he can sell to anyone. And most probably, this discussion has lots of finance behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, in my view, for him, it's a political enterprise which brings him money. And the party is a completely fake party, because it's not only that he does not have an ideology, but he does not have even staff there. Because one day he decides to remove the people, and the next day he has new people, or for some other reason people are leaving the party, then he has other people, but his level of support, his rhetoric, and everything else does not change. So basically, it's just him and some people around him whom he needs just for he needs amount of people.
Right.
If I could add a little bit more context and background to what Harand said, this phenomenon of Vartan Ghukasyan's is really interesting from the perspective of how someone can use social media as a platform to jump into politics. In Vartan Ghukasyan's case, it's not use, it's abuse of social media. And it is jumping into Armenian politics completely remotely, from outside of the country without, him himself running. He's able to control this party. And I say abuse because it's precisely because of lax or non-existent content enforcement by social media companies such as Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, that he is able to gain notoriety and prominence. You would only need to listen to him for 10 seconds to realize that all of his lives are profanity laden. They are frequently used to dox people. They are frequently used to insult people or threaten people. And people seem to enjoy this. And as sort of a reaction to him, his targets of intimidation, of threats, are somehow confounded, and they change their behavior because of his threats. So he is able to achieve real change in whether it's like a government minister or some kind of a functionary of the government. Through one phone call, he's able to scare them into changing their behavior most of the time. And then the question remains whether his motivations are just, whether his motivations are honest, or it is more simply to either continue gaining fame or to target political opponents. And as a documentation of his meteoric rise, I can tell you that. So he started his career in social media after the war, or shortly before the war, maybe in 2020. Then in the 2021 June elections, he ended up winning 1% of the final vote. But that time they were running under this party called Hayot Hayrenik, which was a defunct party. They just resuscitated it, and along with Arda Galistyan as the number one person on the ticket, and with him remotely, they were able to win 1% of the final vote nationwide. Then in the 2023 elections, which is 2 years later, they created a new party from scratch called Public Voice, which was the name of his YouTube show or his live. He was going by the name of Public Voice, and they ended up winning 10% of the vote in Yerevan. Although shortly before the vote, they were polling 3% or 3.6% in Yerevan. So a huge difference between the polling percentage and the actual percentage. To me, that indicates some kind of a shyness among the respondents to indicate who they are going to vote for. And just 2 weeks ago, I believe this was right around the time that he renamed his party, but just 2 weeks ago, it was still called Public Voice, and they again polled 3.6%. So he has maintained his polling, and my guess is that whatever he renames his party or creates a new party, as long as his name is attached to that party, he will secure at least 4% of the vote.
I agree with Hovik because in reality, when such a blogger like Vardan Ghukasyan appears, let's say, in Ukraine, in Russia, in US, in Germany, or wherever in the places which have an attention, they are immediately blocked by YouTube or by Facebook, but they let this kind of people thrive in Armenia. So I think this is a big issue because you can disseminate fakes, you can disseminate hate, you can disseminate irresponsible statements and gather support because people want to hear something new, and you can exploit this will of people to hear something new and spread these fake narratives, create fake party, and then become a spoiler of government, and then maybe resell your political influence and so on and so forth. So this kind of politics is very dangerous in my view because it's not only fragmenting political landscape, but it's just destroying it.
Let me just say on behalf of the diaspora that the diasporans also have a right to be videographers and bloggers for Armenia without getting blocked.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
Vardan
about
Ghukasyan is a
diaspora.
special case. Vardan Ghukasyan is a special case,
No,
but
of course, but it's not about diaspora itself, but it's about the kind of language he uses.
yeah.
So what he does is extensive hate speech, spread of fakes. This is the issue. It's not the places issue. You can speak about whatever you want from wherever you want, unless you are, spreading hate or fakes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't going to use this example, but I believe I should now. I will give you 3 seconds. If you're eating something or drinking something, please, I apologize ahead of time. But one example of just a typical example. He told his listeners that if you work in the restaurant industry, if you're a waiter and someone from his targets list comes to your restaurant, for instance, I think the context was Daron Markaryan. If he comes to your restaurant, then you should spit in his coffee and take a picture of that, and I will post it on my Facebook page. So he incites the violence, and then he rewards that behavior by publicizing these photos, which, I mean, to me, it's vile. I don't know how that content can remain, and most of it is still sort of available on social media, for anyone to see. That's one example. In the latest example, which was when he commanded his party members to boycott essentially the Yerevan City Council meeting last week, what happened was that two people, of course, didn't obey his command, and he ahead of time warned, and afterwards he basically doxed those people. He posted their address and their phone numbers. He reminded those people that they have mothers and they have children and they have daughters, and those daughters and those mothers are now legitimate targets for his profanity. So that's Vardan Ghukasyan.
Yeah, Hovik, let's not minimize the possibility of administrative pressure that was applied on these people as well. Not to justify the doxing or anything one bit, but it looks like those people may have voted under pressure to go with the ruling party.
Of course.
So in all this crazy city dysfunction,